Consider this video guide to the options, colors, and features on a luxury car that will have the biggest impact in its value when you go to resell it down the road, and the things that are going to impact its value most as a used car if you're considering purchasing one pre-owned. There are 4 components to the value of a car on the used market, and that is true whether or not it is being traded in or it is being resold. Those 4 things are the color, the equipment, the condition, and the miles on the car. Now, color is first because most car shoppers begin their search with a color in mind. And there are certain colors that sell in higher volumes, thus making them more popular and more valuable. White is still the #1 color on a vehicle. And specifically, a pearl white paint is going to be the most valuable paint that you could possibly have on your car, and it will be the most expensive paint to buy, generally speaking, on the pre-owned market. Now, the exception to this would be for specialty cars like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, or highline Mercedes, BMW, Audis, etc., where paints that would normally be less valuable might actually be more valuable. So fun blues, greens, yellows, and reds, which are colors that generally speaking will actually impact the value negatively on a pre-owned vehicle, can have the opposite effect on rare specialty performance cars. From there, equipment is how most car shoppers are going to continue their search for the perfect pre-owned vehicle, and therefore is the next most important thing in determining the value of a car that you currently own or what you're going to pay for a future one. Things like appearance packages and upgraded wheels, upgraded stereo systems, driver assistance packages, panoramic sunroofs. These are all options that are very important on the resale market. So for example, if I have 2 Mercedes-Benzes, let's say I have 2 GLCs. One is a base car with 18-inch wheels, the other is an AMG line exterior package with 19-inch wheels, and everything else about them is identical. The AMG line car will always sell first, and the reason is that it looks better and it is therefore perceived to be more valuable by consumers. So it increases the value of a car that you're either looking to trade in, or it's going to increase the cost of purchasing a vehicle that has it. Other things that are hugely popular and value adds are panoramic sunroofs. Those have been very popular in recent years, and a car that has a regular sunroof is going to be less valuable than one that has a panoramic sunroof. Driver assistance packages are also becoming more commonplace. So on the resale market, if 2 identical cars, one doesn't have driver assistance package, which would be things like radar-based cruise control, blind spot assist, lane keeping assist, cross traffic assist, which would prevent the car from pulling out into cross traffic if there's oncoming traffic. These packages are becoming more and more commonplace, and so on the resale market, cars that don't have them are less valuable than cars that do. These are all things that you have to consider when you're purchasing a new car, because that is going to impact your resale value or your exit strategy down the road. So if you buy a white car with an AMG exterior package or an M Sport package from BMW, then that car is going to be more valuable down the road than a red car that is missing all of those items. That is just the fact of the matter, because that is what consumer behavior dictates in the marketplace. Next is going to be condition, and condition takes many forms. Some of them are very obvious in the sense of the physical condition of the car. Is the car clean? Does it have dents, stings, scratches? Does it need a lot of reconditioning? Because if it does, dealerships will have to deduct that from your trade-in value, because it will be expected that that will be taken care of for the next buyer. Now, condition goes well beyond that. It also includes things like, how many keys does it have? Keys have become very expensive for many reasons. The keys are more complicated, there's more security features built in, and manufacturers are less inclined to just make second keys like they used to. They want you to prove that you own the vehicle. It's more complicated. So keys can get up to $1,000 or even more in some cases. So losing a key is much more of a costly endeavor than it ever was previously. Condition also includes whether the car is still under warranty or not. If the car is still under its factory warranty, then it's more valuable because any issues with that vehicle would be taken care of by the factory warranty, and it's easier to resell because the next owner has the peace of mind of still having a warranty with that vehicle. If the vehicle is out of its factory warranty, there would be extended warranty options available to purchase on the car, but the value of the vehicle does go down because it's going to cost more money in order to get that peace of mind by purchasing an extended warranty. The last component of condition is going to be the story of the car. If you're in sales, you know that stories sell. Where did the car come from? Who owned it? Was it kept in a garage? What state? What part of the country did it come from? Was it a primary vehicle? Was it a secondary vehicle? Was it driven on the highway? Was it driven around town? A vehicle that was used in downtown Manhattan is going to be less valuable than a car that was parked in a garage in Florida for the majority of its life, even if all things else are equal, because in consumers' minds, they're going to think about the hustle and bustle of New York City versus the peaceful tranquility of a gated community in Florida, for example. So where the vehicle was, its history, the ownership, how it was driven, that all is part of its value. Cars that are one-owner vehicles that were maintained at dealerships that are associated with that original brand and its service history, that goes into the condition, that's part of its story, and it makes a car more valuable. So if we look at a Carfax report, for example, and we see that there's no service records ever at a dealership or any service center of any kind, then that is going to diminish its value versus a car that has a long history of being serviced at the dealership with detailed notes about what was done while that car was being maintained. Now you might say, I don't believe that any of this really adds value. Some dealers out there might not pay attention to this sort of stuff. I would tell you that in 2025, you have options about where you're going to sell your car and where you're going to buy your next car. And any dealership that is telling you that there's no value to any of the things that I'm talking about here does not have your best interest in mind. And if I were you, I would walk away, because it sounds like that is going to be a difficult and unwelcome process. All of these things are hugely important. And then we at last come to miles. And miles is last because miles is the tiebreaker. So in a world where everything else was equal, which on used cars is not quite possible, then miles would be the tiebreaker. Lowest miles wins for the price. Miles are very important, of course, and some car shoppers are going to begin their search with miles, and that might actually be the most important thing to them. But generally speaking, cars, especially luxury cars, are a very emotional purchase, and things like the color and the options and the history of the vehicle will outweigh the mileage. And what I mean by that is that I've seen cars with very low miles that were not taken good care of, have the wrong color and the wrong equipment, and they are impossible to sell, versus maybe a car with very high miles that's the perfect color, has all the right options on it, and has an amazing service history and great ownership story. Miles can be overlooked if everything else is ideal. But of course, miles are still important because it is part of the story of the car. And in my videos, when you hear me appraising cars and I say that a car is miley or has high miles for the year, what we mean by that is not that it objectively has high miles. It's just that the miles are high or low compared to other vehicles like it that are already listed for sale. So when we are appraising a vehicle, every different vehicle, make and model, has its own standard mileage. And when I say standard mileage or base mileage, it just means that for that year, make and model, what is the average or the median miles of like vehicles that are out there. And different vehicles are going to have a different set of standards when it comes to mileage. Some vehicles, like Hondas, Toyotas, or other domestic or import cars that might be more frequently used as commuter cars, could have a much higher average of miles compared to a luxury car that might be a second or a third vehicle and gets driven less. Performance cars, they're much more mileage sensitive. As miles go up on those cars, then the price goes down, because the next owners of those vehicles would rather have a very low mile example. But the point is that what might be low miles or high miles on one car might not be low miles or high miles on another. Whereas 50,000 miles on a Camry might be nothing, 50,000 miles on a BMW M5 might be considered very, very high. It really just depends. So these are the things that are going to factor into play when you are getting max value for your trade or when you're looking to buy a pre-owned vehicle on the marketplace. Whether or not you care about the color, the condition, the equipment, or the miles, it will be factored into your trade value, and it will be factored into the price of the car that you're going to be buying next. So it's important to understand white, gray, and black are the three most popular, therefore the three most valuable, the exception being limited edition sports cars. And equipment options, packages are all very important. Those add value and they will increase the cost of the car that you're looking to buy. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and when you're looking to buy a used car, make sure that you're getting the best car for your money and you're considering all of these options. If you like videos like this, please make sure that you hit the like button and the subscribe button so that you can get more automotive content like this, dealership behind the scenes, and tips on how to buy cars and how to sell cars.